It is I, the Socrates of RPGs, coming back to you, Barbarian Horde. It is just 42 minutes past Christmas in the midnight hour here, joined by this despicable bearded tree gremlin over here in a Black Sabbath shirt. Today I want to do a little bit of musing down the old white covered, black spined Monstrous manual, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, and this was the first. This is the first like full color monster manual I think anyone ever did anywhere. So this had a lot of special appeal to me. Before this, I did these like three ring loose leaf binders that had all these like black and white photocopyable sheets. You know, I remember anyone I could find that had some I did, and I'd take them and get my mom to take them down to like the school she worked at and just get me photocopies off the photocopy machine so I could have those. And for some reason, I don't know, her photocopy machine, they could do double-sided, so I had, tons of them. And I bought a lot of those, particularly for Ravenloft. I had all the ones for Ravenloft. But then when this came out, that was a really great thing. But the thing I wanted to tell you about a little special I got on Within the Ring of Fire from Drive Through RPG. You can get that. Right now I'm going to be doing a special. You just send me the money on PayPal. The PayPal is eBay, just like the site eBay. ebaywwad, like the last four letters of this channel. ebaywwad at yahoo.com. $40. Send it to me. Send me just a little message within the Ring of Fire, something like that. And send me, if it's a different email address in the email of your payment, put that in there too. $40 till February 1st. You'll get all 5 PDAs of Within the Ring of Fire to you for only $40. Deep immersive dark fantasy, a world like none other. Kavega Thale. Bring inside that imagination, really detailed into the deep immersive style of role-playing. An incredible chapter here, really explaining for new or advanced players just how to get into that mindset, how to play in here, how to create the mask, the psychological tapestry of the character. So enough advertisement of that, and if you don't have it, $40, you'll get it all. You'll love it, guaranteed. I just wanted to sort of do a little musing, a little rambling down memory lane. I remember I first picked up this book over the Hampton location of Atomic Comics in Virginia, where I live. And I live right on the coast, right near the water. This book, this is not my original copy. All my original AD&D stuff is long gone due to some unfortunate circumstances. This is, however, something I picked up. I think I got this one. I think I got this one off eBay. And it is really in pretty good shape. Better shape than my original book would have been in at this time, for sure. My original book didn't have any of this stuff in it. So this is kind of a neat little thing. All these ads, they just baked in the ad promotion. Like I baked in the ad promotion for Within the Ring of Fire, which you could get right directly from your main man. $40, all the PDFs, baby. Woo, my God! So you can sort of see right there. So let's just sort of start here. Let's just sort of ramble down the memory lanes, the winding streets of time, my friends. Come on a journey with your main man, the Barbarian King, to a land of imagination that never ends. So we're looking at these different settings, right? So one of the things I love about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is so many different settings. And with a setting, right, you can say, well, I do my own stuff. That's cool, man. You can mine so many ideas out of all these different settings. So let's look at that. Right off the rip, we got Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, Dark Sun, Al-Qadim, which I think actually part of Forgotten Realms, but Greyhawk, Dragonlance, all those different places, all those different worlds you can explore and play in. I don't think I've never played anything I would consider a real Dragonlance game, just a real things I would even hesitate to call trash games, just garbage. Very early on to my RPG career, maybe when I'm around 15 or so. I've never played anything that I would regard as a halfway decent Dragonlance experience, so I don't have any warm memories or particular interest in Dragonlance. Greyhawk, I've only ever played once with some jabronis, and it was, basically the same thing. Like, there's just there's nothing there for me. Alkadim, I only ever played one time with Funky Daddy Fungo, Chuck Campbell. It was just terrible. He was a abominable gamer. I think it was about 15 at the time. And it was one session, short session, didn't do anything. I remember I had like an Alkadim elf, which is, I guess, kind of stupid because they had to shoehorn elves and dwarves and everything. Like somehow there's supposed to be Arabian elves. Come on, dude. That was just weird. Dark Sun, very interesting. It just bringing a lot of memories and just seeing like all these different like products. How differently. If this had been in my book, I'd have been salivating. Back then, obviously, as a teenager, I didn't have the kind of money that I have as an adult. So, you had to be very, very choosy with what you picked up, with what you bought, with what you got into for your RPG dollar. And for me, it was mostly this stuff here. A lot of Vampire Masquerade stuff, but a lot of Ravenloft, more than anything. I had not the entire run, but I had a huge percentage. I had way more than half the Ravenloft books, including modules. I got a ton of modules. I ran a good number of modules, but most of them kind of sat in there. I never really did anything with them. I'm not going to mine modules because if I'm going to read it, I'm never going to play it. And if I'm going to read it, it's because I'm going to run it. So, and we did run some of them. I think I ran one out of this Book of Crypts here. I had some of these others as well. I had a bunch of the Venerictings guides. Maybe not all of them, but a whole bunch of them. So anyway, that's just sort of getting me off onto a tangent. But they had a 20 or 25% off sale. I don't know if it was around Halloween, maybe it was around Christmas. But at Atomic Comics, they had that. And I went and got this because, I know exactly what those were. So I could take my money down there and really get the best bang for the buck. So I was just transfixed because previously, all we had were the black and white old AD&D like first edition monster manuals, like 1 and 2 Fiend Folio, or those loose leaf pages. And quite frankly, I thought the loose leaf page thing kind of sucked. Like I was like, you're just getting a couple pieces of paper, not even a book. So I don't really hear people. I don't hear a lot of people because I watch, mostly I watch like older edition like Beck Me or AD&D. I don't like anything new. I don't care about old school revival stuff at all. Lamentation, Flame Apprentice. No, I don't care anything about that. So I don't watch those videos. But where people are actually examining the old modules and things like that, I think it's very interesting because I've actually never played in any of them. Not one of them. I don't believe I've ever played any module before AD&D Second Edition. And the amount of AD&D Second Edition modules I played is very small. So that was kind of interesting to me to get to see those things, to kind of watch those videos. It is something I think I would like to, at least with the Game Master that was really good at turning into a role-playing game experience, get to play some of those classic modules. But probably something that won't come to happen. But who knows? There are a lot of interesting possibilities of what can happen RPG wise. So you had stuff like this, like an Era Kokra, which I guess they've tried to turn these more and more into playable races. I just think that's a bit odd. Right off the rip, to have a creature with flying can really change the dynamic of a game. And I don't know about those. Ankheads, which I'm not. They're supposed to be insects, right? But I don't know exactly what type of insect they're supposed to be. Like, I don't know. Like, how can I put this? I know a lot about insects, a lot, and just looking at this picture anatomically, there are issues with it. There are definitely some issues with this thing from an anatomic standpoint. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that the artist that put this together really knew much about the anatomy of an insect. I'll put it that way, so I don't just keep ripping it up. Aboliths are a creature I've never used. I've never used an aboleth, but I think they're interesting. I think there's a lot that could be done there, and I think there's something that at some point one day I would like to kind of build something around an aboleth. I think they could be really interesting. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever used an aboleth. I think the Vorax, I believe that is a Lovecraft monster from... is it the Nameless City? It's from one of the really short ones. The Festival, maybe? Anyway, I can't remember. It's been a minute. I've read every single one of the Lovecraft stories, but, you know, some of them it's been quite a few years since I read them. I've sat down and read some of them with my son when he was a little bit younger, but... Of course, we have the Batazoo. Of the old Satanic Panic. Like, ugh. Batazoo. I guess going forward, they've been able to take that and kind of do something with it. I remember when I first looked at it, I was like, ugh, that stinks like ass. That's some ridiculous foolishness. Some mental vulgarity to the highest level. I gotta say that's a very unimpressive artwork on them, too. Like, I don't know if they purposely didn't want to make it look, like, waste that much time on it. Just kind of like, how can I put it? This looks almost like a child's action figure, you know? These don't look like scary demons, and perhaps that was like a conscious effort. I'm not sure. The artwork in this book varied wildly. Like the goblin, like it looks like maybe a 6-year-old did it, and then other pieces of art are actually very nice in here. But the color was just so evocative. It helped to kind of pop them and bring them to life to me. Honestly, nowadays, like when I find like new, I can't even look at monster manuals that aren't in color. I can't do it. It's just not something I can do. You know, when I put down to the other art for Thunder of Fire, I knew that, like in their monsters and min book, everything had to be color, like it had to be color. Because I assumed a lot of other people would have that sort of reaction. I don't know. Some people love that old artwork. And if I look back at the AD&D first edition, or AD&D Monster Manual 1 and 2, or Monstrous Manual and Fiend Folio, I still like those. But it's anything after this point. And of course, you know, that's, you know, nostalgia and whatever, but I just thought it would be something kind of nice to do here. I'd already set up the camera, putting out the last video. Some of these beholders, like I don't know if I've ever been in a game where I've seen a beholder used. I've used beholders myself. I don't think I've ever... Oh, I checked that. I played one game once where someone had a beholder, but it wasn't like this. It was like something that was ascending to godhood, and I basically used like the magical equivalent of... It wouldn't even have been a nuclear weapon. I don't know what you would call it. Like, it basically ripped magic apart in the world. Like, I guess it was sort of the moment of going from that classical magical sort of world to a newer world where all the other things started dying. It was something my character did in the game. You know, basically using this incredible level magical artifact that killed the beholder rising from godhood. And that was basically like the end of the campaign. My character, it was an AD&D second edition game. My character was, he was 13th level as a fighter / like 3rd level as a thief, and he finally got like 1st level as a wizard, which is like a major thing in the whole character. Because it's really interesting. Like, the character concept was a wizard, was the guy in wizard school that fails. He was the guy that failed. But he was a big, tough guy, and he had a really high intelligence. It's like a 17 intelligence out of the gate, right? Smart guy. He had a very low wisdom score. And the whole deal was like he would be getting in fights. He had some like ADHD going on. He had some issues where he couldn't really concentrate. He just couldn't quite get magic. He couldn't quite get it. So instead of going into the idea of, you know, a wizard, he just couldn't. He had like a cantrip ability, like from the beginning of the game. He could do like one little, like a cantrip type deal, you know. That was like all the magic he could do. So finally, when it was this great deal for him to finally get that, and then he had to give it up, like almost immediately. He had to give it up because the magic didn't work anymore, and that was kind of the end of the game. So it was interesting, and my character was definitely like one of those like, you know, you really don't want to do it kind of deals. There were 2 players in the game. It was a couple, and playing with couples is always fucking sucks. It always fucking sucks. Yeah, it always fucking sucks. So they got divorced, and then it was just me and the other guy playing. And she, Lana, she was a very good player. I've had 2 players that I've had the best chemistry with. My friend Kevin, who has been on some of these. I think we did a fundraiser. He's a comic book writer now. We did a fundraiser for one of his comic books, and you can find him. He's in a bunch of my different videos. Plays a character Valorian. We did some live RPG stuff. Fantastic player. He and I never we're not gonna tell you what we're doing, and it'll always work. It always clicks. Our characters always work, always click. And Lana was the same way. We never talked about it. Right as soon as we hit it, our characters always worked, always clicked. She was such a pleasure to play with. So, when you're in that kind of situation, yeah, it's just unfortunate. Anyway, that's how life works, though. So, sort of going through these now. A boulet for the gouye, baby, if you will. The boulet. I used one of these, I think maybe for the first time in my current Dungeons & Dragons game that we play on Saturdays that I run, and it was pretty neat. I set some clues up there, letting the more nature-y characters, like the Druid and the Ranger, find an area that had been wallowed in, and all the reed grass down by the shore bank had been crushed, and then find some feces, and then I started having them kind of find some disturbed areas of the dirt, and then nobody made their roll correctly, and so they walked right over top of it. Almost ate my son, because they like to eat hobbits, and he plays a hobbit, so it went right for him, went right after him, and he stepped on it, and it explodes. I talked about. You really get into that. I love to get into that description. Talking about the mud and the mud and the earth just exploding off the thing, the stench of the body as it comes from underground, and it's just crawling out, just coming at you, just trying to bite you, trying to rip you, trying to eat the flesh and the sinew as well, trying to get deep to the bone marrow as his dietary custom. So it was really it was a fun encounter. The Druid eventually was able to use a calm animal spell on it to get it to chill for a second, and then they just ran away from it. It jacked them up. They only got down to half its hit points too. And the party had gotten pretty beat down. This is out basically south of the Serpent Hills, where I put them. And then they have large territories, right? So I didn't have a lot of them together, but I let them find 2 other occurrences where they're oh shit, those are the telltale signs. So they got real careful. They're able to avoid those situations instead of just sort of running repetitive combats, giving them a way to look at the signs of danger so that they weren't just in the same position. I used back in the first Ravenloft game I ever had. I had an NPC. His name was Grog. I'm Grog. And he was just this big bugbear, and he was essentially became the henchman of the paladin in the group. Devon was the paladin's name. And he had this big backup Grog with a big old fucking mace and Grog. And my man Frank drew an artwork of Grog, which is just a fantastic piece of art. Even in high school, he was really, really talented. So I was going to go through and use a carrion crawler in my last game. I like to use them, and I was able to I showed larvae of them at different stages, really small and bigger, some eggs and how that worked, and really getting into vegetation and the things, because they're real quiet. So it's just moving up and be oh, and they're just trying to get on a carrion crawler, hitting you with the tentacles. And I kind of like to have them feel almost like a jellyfish, like that, just burning horrid as it starts paralyzing you. I always thought this monster kind of sucked. It has a super big power, but it's basically a cow in the swamp. You're how unsatisfying that was. The thing looked at me and I died. That's stupid. It's not really even a monster. It's just his defensive mechanism. It's genital lice. Do you ever want to fight genital lice, kids? Here you go. Right there. And then, of course, the centaur. He's a centaur in the game. He was more just an NPC, though. His name was Maelstrom, and I basically used I like to describe, the body, the torso portion it's not just a person on top of a horse. Like the body, the dimensions are larger. Like it's larger than a person. I always kind of give them, it's almost from like a mix of almost Neanderthalic meets fairy. So it has a sort of this sheer sort of fey quality, but with a sort of blocky-ish Neanderthal quality. And I used, for the character, I always get pictures of different characters, and I love to get pictures of characters that I can do at least a halfway decent voice for. So for it, I used the professional wrestler Scott Hall in the game, and his name is Maelstrom, and he's a centaur, and he's a druid. And in fact, I think if the players watch this, they wouldn't even know that. And okay, so it talks kind of like this. And has facial features and a distinct way of just bringing about his whole demeanor. And I like to drink my alcohol. I like my gold. I got the gold horseshoes. I got the gold rings. I'm a man dripping in gold. And he just sit there and like talk to the player characters, and it made it a real interesting thing. But he was on the side of something that they look at as like, oh, this is a really bad thing. Like, do we have to try to Drax him up now? When I get to the next entry, I'll show you who we brought in as his big friend, and that really popped. I just every once in a while do something silly in my games that I do very seriously. Whenever I interject comedy, particularly if it's on the silly side, I do it deadly seriously, very in character, and it's just like that is here, and they're taking it very seriously, and they're very dangerous. So, when because I do a lot of wrestler impersonations, and so we had a lot of different cameos, or even full blown characters that are wrestlers, or like I do like an Ozzy Osbourne because I can do an Ozzy impersonation. For the characters, it was just Ozzy. Man, fuck, this fucking game, man. Sharon called me in, man. Fucking Dungeons and Dragons, man. So yeah, I think that can really add a lot to the game because it just immediately there's no stress on that character. You just pop it in there, like Keanu Reeves. And the Keanu Reeves characters are minor characters, like the carpenter, the town, and he talks like this. Eldon, we have the temple finished. The woodwork on the pews is nearly done. I need maybe a fortnight, and we should be just about finished. I had an excavation team dig out a trench sort of area underneath, so you have an earthen buttressed area. So, just kind of putting a bit of idiosyncrasy in those sort of things. And then, it allows it to be more easily. Because when I run a game, I have like a fucking 100 NPCs. So to be able to do one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. So I'm just dumping a picture in. And I show pictures to the players. I show pictures of every character that's of import. They get a name, they get a picture. I try to work out catchphrases for them. I'm really into the psychology. I really try to get the mindset of that person. So it's like a little easy crib cheat. And it helps. And sometimes it can get the character either over or it can get heat on him, right? So, like, I use like Zac Efron for character I wanted to get heat on. But they didn't know that, so I was like, then they were like, Zac Efron. Because he turned out to be like a real bad guy. And he turned out to be a red dragon that was very antagonistic, that eventually did get killed in one of the most epic fights. In fact, I'll probably do a video on that one. I've always thought, I think they did a really good job trying to take our utter garbage. Like, the cloaker is just an utter garbage idea. I was like, let's have a trap that is it's a cloak. Let's make a magical cloak a trap. That's what the fuck it is. And, then they develop it out and, they, by 3.5, I think, you actually have some pretty interesting stuff there. The cockatrice, I think mythologically speaking, a cockatrice and a basilisk are the same thing. I think they're just different names. Like a gnome and a kobold are the same thing. They're just different names for the same thing from different, European cultures. Grab people, grab people. Tales from my nutsack. Yeah, God, that horrible HBO show. The Death Knight. The dinosaur entry always, like, in these books, I always have to go past them. They, like, infuriate me, because there'd be, like, 8 things in there that aren't dinosaurs. Like, the Stegosaurus dinosaur. I'm like, no. No, definitely not. It's a stem mammal, bro. Calm your mind down. Displacer Beasts. We had a funny joke about Displacer Beasts. One of my earlier campaigns, and their utter love for Lathander and their complete lawful goodness. I don't think I've ever seen anyone run a Moondog. I know the tag team, the Moondogs, and I would probably be more likely to use one of those Moondogs than this Moondog. I think it's like maybe a slang name for surfers or something. I'm not sure. As it's not something people would do around here. Despite being on the water, you just don't have the waves for it. Now, Doppelgangers right here, one of my absolute favorite races. They are fantastic, and the players have no idea how many of them I'm using in the current game. It could be 1 or 1,000. None of you will ever know. So, and I'm not going to smarten you up either, but I like to use Doppelgangers. They are amazing. Because a Doppelganger can be the enemy over here, right? It can be your ally over here, and it can be the little helpless person over here. So it's watching you and figuring out exactly what it wants to do with you by putting itself in positions to really get the judge of you. And maybe it slides into one of the player characters for a while. You don't know. So, or your torchbearer, or whatever. So it can get a look at you. And I think if you use... I like to make doppelgangers look like gray aliens. I think that is, like, so creepy. So those sort of pictures, I just pull something like that up, like, oh, you see these. So that's, that's really neat. Dracolich. I used a Dracolich in one of the most recent episodes of my Forgotten Realms game. The characters fought against it, but they had help from two other dragons. There was like it was in DR 1373, which is the Year of the Dragon. So I said, okay, I like to take some of that stuff and sort of interweave it into my game. So I take the canon things, but I do it my way. And they had basically, I do a whole video on that. That kind of deserves a video, I think. Black dragons are, I know, fucking cliche, my favorite dragon. Love black dragons. What's your favorite dragon? Leave that in the comments below. I love black dragons. I don't like this piece of art now, but I do love black dragons. So it's cool to see all this. I really like blue dragons too. I think they're pretty cool. Most of the evil dragons really are my jam. I don't care too much about the good dragons. And I always hated that they made the good dragons like so OP versus the evil dragons. I'm like, nah, son, get that nonsense out of here. Trust me, in my game, we don't do it that way. I like to have them more balanced out. One of my biggest complaints like Forgotten Realms, they make it. It's the baby faces are too strong. The baby faces got to be weaker. The heels need to be strong, not the baby faces. Because if the heels are too weak, what are the player characters going to do? Like, oh, everybody's ass is not even whooped. We see. We got the Harpers and Elementster and bitch ass Trista Warden, so I guess we don't need to do nothing. Nah, son, my characters need to just beat on that ass. You got to build them up, but you got to whip the character's ass too. I love the artwork on the Cloud Dragon. I think that's actually the most aesthetically pleasing of these pieces of art. I always make dragons so they can polymorph, but only into one like human form. Like, the way I do dragons is they imprint a human form in their mind, like, well, not necessarily human. They could be like an aquatic elf or an orc or an ogre, whatever. And then they have a form like that, which you could stat out if you wanted to do that. But generally, dragons just beat that ass. So, whatever. The deep dragon, the artwork on that looks pretty cool too. The Mercury dragon here looks a little too much like a silver dragon. I see them. I like when Mercury dragons are kind of drawn with sort of a quick silvery aspect to them. I think that looks good. I don't really like the Oriental style dragons. I always thought those were a little, I don't know. They don't look ferocious. They look kind of goofy to me, so I'm not a big fan of those. And I kind of got that idea from reading the Steel Dragon. It may have been in the Draconomicon. I think that was the name of the book. And the second edition one where they talked about them Maybe it isn't here, but they're polymorphing and like living in places like Waterdeep as citizens. That really like, whoa. Because it's a way you can just use dragons, like just bombard people with dragons. Like these powerful people, these powerful wizards in the area, they're fucking dragons. So, and you can put them in a game where they're kind of playing the characters like chess, right? But they might be working as quest givers, they might be working as patrons, as mentors, people that are teaching them spells or putting them in a position to get things. But at the same point, they're not just handing it out, right? Because dragons can't stand to give up even that one copper piece or that magic item. They can't stand it. They can't stand it. So, fairy dragons, I really like those too. I think there's a lot you can do with that. A small dragon. I haven't seen anyone having a pseudo dragon familiar in quite a long time. That used to be a pretty big thing. People would try to get back in AD&D. Like they'd really try to be like, "Yo, let me get a pseudo dragon or a closet or an imp or whatever for their familiar." But that seems to kind of quieted down a bit. And it's stuff I've seen. I don't know. Are you guys seeing lots of pseudo dragon or spectacular familiars? I like that personally. Giving a paladin a normal warhorse or a wizard just a bitch ass toad, man. Nah, son. You gotta put it up. You gotta sell it up. You gotta make it cool. An animal companion, whatever it is. You gotta make it cool. Give it a little extra oomph. Use one of these, a Dragonine. I think these are one of the Chinosaurs. I never understood why dryads and nymphs are different things. I don't get that. A dryad is just a type of nymph. So I don't know. That's always bothered me in Magic the Gathering. So dwarves, Hildorf and Mountaindorf. I think that's Shield and Gold in Forgotten Realms. Darrow in the game that we're playing, or in my Forgotten Realms game right now, they're fighting Darrow. Darrow are like these degenerate dwarf human subcross, and they're shorter than dwarves, and they're really fucked up. And I just God, I love Darrow. They're one of my I do not like dwarves, but Darrow, not necessarily as a player character, but just as antagonist. Oh, I love them. I think they're so, because they're absolutely batshit crazy, and I can't go into much detail because my players watch these videos. So I got some really neat stuff coming up with that. So stay tuned, Ranger. We're having fun with Ranger right now. I think these are pretty good. That artwork looks pretty nice. A petch is like a real mythological creature. It's basically another of the many gnomes. Lots of gnomes. I don't know. I don't know why they had gnomes in D&D. I don't know how that, because you had everything else is Tolkien, like half orcs, half elves, dwarves, hobbits, whatever. They're all Tolkien, and then there's gnomes. I don't know. They just seem like such a wasted slot. Like, you got dwarves and hobbits, and you need something between them. Get out of here with that nonsense. That's another cool one here too. The Nereid and the Water Weird. I think both of those are really nice pieces. I mean, look at that. You do get some really nice pieces of art in here, and then some just garbage art as well. Some really uninspired things. Some really just slap ass stuff. I'm trying to remember. That looks like it was inspired by like one of those. I don't know if it's Flash Gordon or Battlestar Galactica or something, or maybe the hair maybe looks like Buck Rogers for the guy Bird Person and Rick and Morty's based off. The hair kind of looks like that with the coat, the cape, whatever. Eder caps are monsters that can be pretty interesting to use. It's always sort of interesting, like when you sit down with these, you can kind of look through them and get plot hooks, get ideas, get things that can really gargoyles are another one. Like, I've used gargoyles before. I think there's a lot that can be done with gargoyles, but I don't want to tip my players off too much about gargoyles. Ghost is a monster I don't really like very much. I'm never really big into ghost type stuff. I don't know. I think a lot of it's stupid as shit. So I don't know. That being said, the ghoul Ghoul is probably my favorite undead creature. I think they're fantastic. I have an idea for a player character Ghoul that, hopefully at some point we'll get there. I've really been kind of going through and carefully sort of line iteming out my bucket list characters that I'm trying to get off the books, things I really want to play for, any real campaigns that come forward. The Cloud Giants are pretty neat. The Cyclops. So they had a lot of giants in this book. Right? I think. Here's an Etten. I had a character scoop slam with Etten one time. The man Godai, the man with the power. In the I had a wonderful character front runners game my friend Fergus playing, and we just revisited it, and he had ended up being like a 13th level Honors Arcana Barbarian. So with a girdle of Storm Giant strength, and he was like. He had gotten like bigger, had been modified, but he was like the champion of Talos, and had been modified up. So he was like well over 7 foot tall naturally. Had like a natural like 20 strength in second edition, which I mean that's not like these editions where 20 strength didn't mean something. That was legit strong as a Stone Giant. But then he got the girdle of Storm Giant strength and went up to a 24. And he would just wrestle. He was basically Bruiser Brody, but think of like Marvel Comics. Movies, like the way Thanos was, like in the movies, like he was like by the end of it he was like that size, like versus normal people, but like with the like skin of Bruiser Brody, the legendary professional wrestler. I always hated the fire giant artwork. I hated that. It's just they look so unintimidating, and the Jotnar of Muspelheim are really one of my favorites, and I'm really big on Norse mythology. I know, that I'm probably just butchering your ears right now listening to me attempt to pronounce Old Norse words like the inhabitants of Jotunheim, so the frost giants I like to, and that's what I did with my man, the Centaur. Right, so the whole game they've been dealing with the Centaur. In fact, I don't think anyone even knows he's a druid. Partly because of a lot of the ways that he acts. So there's a Centaur druid, and of course there's Scott Hall, right, as a druid, Centaur Scott Hall. And Centaur Scott Hall, of course, they have this deal where they tie in with the dragons that the characters are working for. They don't know at this point. They have a lot of suspicions because I've been dropping the clues. The clues get bigger and bigger and bigger as we're going along, and finally, like, the bird person was like, I think she's a dragon. They finally figured out that Kindle is in fact a red dragon, and they're on her side, so they like her. One of the characters is completely fucking in love with her, and of course we know who Scott Hall's big friend is. So they have this, and I start describing it, and I start playing like the old WWF music for Diesel in the background, and only one of the players is like starting to pick up on it. My nephew is, of course, a big wrestling fan too. Frankie's a big wrestling fan. Some of the players aren't, so it was like, they didn't quite have the excitement in some of the ways, but it also did get over. And I'm talking about this big, and I like giants to be giants. I don't like this bitch-ass 12, 14 foot tall shit. So I had him at about 20 foot tall, and I'm playing the music for Diesel, and I'm describing this giant with this blue skin, and like I'm doing all the stuff, and I'm kind of like doing the Kevin Nash stuff with the giant, with Big Daddy Cold. So. The first wave of people come at him, and he gives them he didn't even lift it up that high, but he just gives them a boot. As they run at him, boot. And the mayor's men, the men in good standing. I've surrounded the mayor, and all these other all their subordinates are there, and Frank works for the men in good standing. And it's sort of this outlaw brigand sort of town of chaotic and neutral, and lots of various shades of roughly evil people. Not naturally good people, so they're called the men of good standing, which really I think was it's very funny, but in a grim, horrifying kind of way when you realize that no, these guys are fucking horrifying, and if you fuck around, you end up in the water face down, or maybe you end up with a nice little trip to the pig pen, and we don't see you again. But the giant's bringing this. He's bringing like a relic, the Rose of Auril, which is this beautiful blue frozen rose inside this thing. And he brings it to the Zac Efron character who had, I got to be murky because there's parts of the details that they don't have. I don't want to just explain them because they will watch this. But he gives it to the Zac Efron character, and the Zac Efron character pays him all this gold. So he's like, he can't get into a tavern or anything, but well, before that, like, I have Scott Hall, like, and he has a lance, and I've never seen his lance before, and he's like running at him, like, and it looks like things are starting to get under control as the giant's coming up, and the people are like, oh shit, and then they see Scott Hall running at the giant, they're like yelling, no, God, and they don't know, like, you think he's gonna attack the giant, and all of a sudden, like, when he gets right to the giant, like, he just, like 180 spins, and he's with the giant. And that's just when I showed him the picture of Big Daddy Cold, and like they were together. Like it really, even the characters didn't know anything about wrestling. The players didn't know anything about wrestling. Were like, oh shit, this just went up a whole nother level because they already knew Maelstrom, had some real talents. As a ranger druid, centaur with levels, He's in no way is he a chump, but he was kind of like loosely a friend and definitely an associate. Like, just every once in a while they would just see him walking around the town or whatever, and they'd done a few things here or there. He'd done a little guide work for him early on. Like, hey, how you doing? What's going on there, Derek Clyde? You all right, man? Yeah. All right, man. Oh, yeah, I think you guys about to punch you in the head, Derek Clyde. You might do something about that. And then, it sees, and then they go and they just deal. And they invite, like, one of the player characters over, they come and just drink with them. And they send the player character in, they just give them a bunch of gold, like, hey, just go get us a bunch of these casks of Valorian. The Valorian's like the cheap, shitty ale in my universe name for my buddy Kevin's character, Valorian. So I lived that on, so we actually have brands. And, it's a dirt hole, the bone rust. So they got the shittiest stuff. And they had that shitty ale, that Valorian ale. And they're just bringing a cask of Valorian out there. And like the giant's just picking up the whole cask and drinking it like as a cup. It's like, and they're just getting drunk. And they're having a party on the street because they just got fat paid. And the giant, and then I showed the giant, he was like laying like on the ground and like this. And like the kids are playing like a couple days later. And he's like, "Rrr!" And the kids are like, ah! And they're like, he's like playing with the kids. Like, oh, this giant's a great guy. But at the same time, his actions brought about something with another character that the player's like, oh man, we're gonna fuck that giant up now, So it was pretty. It's pretty neat, And instead of just playing, like I always kind of hated the way they do. Like, I think there's generally so little effort put in a giant. It's like, oh, I'm big, I'm dumb. No, I made him like kind of charismatic and like this Kevin Nash character. Like, all right, well, and he's doing all the Kevin Nash type stuff and putting over like this is he doesn't hate people. It was very interesting. It was a very very good scene with a lot of color in it. It was when great thing you can do is get players like kind of divided. Like, no, dude, that guy was great, like in character, and the other character's like, no, we need to deal with him, and they're like, but I don't know that we do need to deal with him. They seem all right, but he did this, and they're like, oh yeah. So instead of, I always hate mustache twirling type bad guys. See here now, I want to tie your girlfriend to the train tracks. Man, get out of here with that nonsense. We're trying to, come on, get out of here, man. So when you can put a little more funk in it, when you can, give it very human feeling, very real feeling, you can really create a situation that can be really quite interesting, I think. One of my all-time favorites, Githyanki. I love Githyanki. They are one of my absolute favorite races to play. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Something I have a real good grip on. And there's the bitch-ass Githzuri. Boo! Boo! Leave it in the comments. Boo! Githzuri. On you, Githzuri, and your bitch ass. You and that dagger. You and your shitty-looking cloak. I smacked the cloak off you. Noel, my son, in the next game I play, he's going to be playing a Noel. He's going to be playing a chaotic good Noel Bard. He's got a pretty interesting. Oh, there it is. The legendary shitty artwork of the Goblin. Look at that. Whose kid drew that? Whose kid drew this shitty goblin? Fuck, you're a piece of shit. I think in the version I have, I think it actually looked even worse than this. Because I remember there being like lines coming off of it, like more than this. And I had the book that was original before I had this one. But I remember just being so impressed with this thing. Really, even though I'm joking, some of it's golems. I do love golems. They just, in fact, the very last thing we did before the holiday, we had to take a little break because some of the players were out of town and such. But they fought a stone golem in the game, and that stone golem beat the brakes off them. Stone golems are very, very tough creatures. There's a lot of golems in here. Always loved the scarecrow. Like the old horror movie Night of the Scarecrow. I think they make really, if you use them right, they make really creepy monsters. I never understood this. I think there's some shitty fantasy book, I guess. I don't know, maybe it was good, I don't know, that puts these things over as gorgons. But a gorgon's a Medusa, so I don't know why they call Medusas Medusa. That's just a name. Like, they don't call vampires Draculas, so I don't get why they call them Medusas, or Pegasus, so I don't know. Grell are a pretty neat monster. I've thought about using Grell. I've used, like, once. I think I've only ever used them once. There's a picture of my son. I think he was about 10 when we took this picture. Right here. It's a good looking picture of him. Griffin, I always think those make pretty cool mounts for paladins. Griffin. There is the Morlocks. We got a guy playing our game that's a Morlock. I mean, he's not his character. I mean, he's a Morlock. He's like, yeah. I hate cars. Beat the brakes off you. Get over here, car, with your evil tactics. Hags. Hags, particularly night hags, I really like. I used a night hag a few sessions back. They're definitely one of my go-to monsters. I kind of come up with ways, like, if you, like, speak to them in a certain way, they can't attack you, and they hate it. Like, they're like, furious, but they have to... I kind of make social etiquette rules for night hags, where they're like, if you're like, grandmother, it's so fantastic to see you. You look so nice. And you're like flattering her and like being super respectful, like in a certain way. If you learn how to do it, there's a certain way you can talk to them. Because night hags, they're traders. They deal, they wheel and deal. But they would much rather just yank you up, just snatch you up in a bear trap and sell you off for parts. And they'll try to bargain. They'll try to get you to give them the parts of you. And they have all kinds of information, all kinds of connections. They're like some of the most badass creatures in D&D. And I really like you can fight anything, and it's whatever. But when you can actually really role play it, and you can show the sinisterness, you can show the horribleness. And I like to play a lot of things in shades of black and white. Like I said, with a giant, I want to have the party divided. With different characters, I want to have the party divided. I'm like, they're actually cool. I like them. And they're like, no, fuck them. Or have, the characters, I guess you'd say, patron in the game, is a fucking red dragon. Or at least to some of them, right? A red dragon. And she's a red dragon, for sure. She's just likes being in society and has ways to work in it. Doesn't mean she's not of the evil alignment, but just because you're evil doesn't mean, you're going to just fucking fuck off on people, You're going to do some... You're going to do some maybe sink to certain depths, and you shouldn't be cross or fucked with because you're coming for that ass if you are. But she's, has redeeming qualities, and I think that's how you make, particularly if you're making a player character evil. You're like, okay, I'm evil. Let me go through and give what are my redeeming qualities. Why would anyone not look at me as the antagonist? Because I'm meant to be the protagonist, right? Like if you look at an anti-hero, like a Punisher or a Venom, right? They're evil. There's alignment. Deadpool's evil, but you got to work backwards. What are the redeeming qualities, right? To this violent, murderous type thing, or whatever it is. Why do we like them? What's redeemable there? What are their frailties? What are their weaknesses? What can we show to get them over? Just like if you look at a good character, how do we flaw them up? What do they have? Do we get into their depressions, or get into their quest, their sadnesses, maybe they're greedy. They're like, really good. And then they have all this guilt because they took too much of the party treasure. They did whatever, and you can kind of work that up. Whereas the evil character, you want to work opposite, because from good. You don't want to be like, I am good and I am Superman. I mean, Superman is such a boring character, right? You work and then you work backwards. You want to evil characters. You want to put redeemable qualities in them, even if they're meant to be the villains, the bad guys. You want to put some redeeming qualities in them because, at then, you could show certain things and have a very different deal. Gripply, these were used also in my game. There's a whole underwater kingdom, half semi-aquatic kingdom I have built that the players refuse to go in because they're fucking terrified. We have the most cowardly barbarian anyone's ever seen. So cowardly. So it's terrified to go down there. They're like a kingdom that's led by like a. Well, I'll talk about them more when I get to those stuff from Monsters. So. Go through these a little bit faster because I'm only in H and we're near an hour. I'm just going to hang out with you, You watch as long as you want. Watch the video in more than one installment if you like. Well, again, one of my all-time favorites, the Hobgoblins. These are monsters like in my game. My players know when the Hobgoblins come about, you're like, ooh. Hobgoblins are not job goblins in my game. They do not. I usually keep them strong as fuck. Like, they're not going to go over. I use a homunculus in my game. My buddy Frank, basically we just lost a player because my buddy Frank broke up with his girlfriend and she was playing. So, Teddy Bear won't be playing anymore because it's a little bit messy. So, but I had a homunculus. Mine didn't have wings. I did have a picture I drew. Not drew, but I found and used. And, yeah. And so it would talk, mug, chickens. And the homunculus has decided that it wants to make my son Ryan's character its pet. And it would go, and it's got a cage that it used to live in. It's gotten out of, and they would point and like mug, Eldon, mug, pets. And it would like demand the other characters give it Eldon and bring Eldon to it so he can make Eldon live in the cage. That's right, Eldon's going to live in the cage. So I had a little bit of comic relief in there. I like to do that because a lot of times my games can get very, very gritty and very dirty and very violent. I paint the rooms. I talk about the stench. I talk about the smell of shit. And I'll go into the roaches that are scurrying around in your room, to the bed bugs that are living inside the straw and they're feeding on you, and you're just like, well, that's how things are. Bed bugs are eating me. That's what night is. That's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And being adventurers, you're going to have that. You're going to get fleas at some point, and I bring stuff like that in there, and I bring disease into my game, and I will drown the living fuck out of you. So my water is the thing my players are the most afraid of. You will never see a group of characters that are more afraid. They know you don't bring water. You do not fuck around, bring all your gear in. You certainly ain't wearing armor in the water because they know I'm just dying to drown one of them. And I said, let me just drown somebody. Can't I just drown you? So. You just got to drown a character once in a while. There's an imp. That's a really good piece of artwork. I like that. We have the Mephits. I don't remember. Probably a Mephit is somewhere before this, but I don't remember that. I guess Mephits aren't imps anymore. In 3.5 or higher, I think the Mephits are just their own thing. But they still look like imps. Artwork like that really is great. Like, you just see a giant insect, but then somebody's riding it, and you're like, wow. My character could ride a giant insect, and then you think, well, how long do insects live? Giant insects, it's from an ecology standpoint, it's very interesting. And giant insects, like giant ants. I mean, if you make them just like ants, but 6 foot long, I mean, that's probably it. That's just it. Like, if you have populations of 6 foot long ants all over the place, that's it, dude. That's it. Everyone's done. And particularly if they're carnivorous, they're going to eat everybody. And everything, and the giants and the dragons, they're just going to get you. Ants are horrific, monstrous things. They're going to swarm you. They don't give a fuck. Ants ain't checking for morale. Get that nonsense out of here. Ants are coming for that ass. Believe it. 6 foot long, forget it. 10 foot long, it's over. Because because ants, well, you could have a scout ant out there and it could just fuck on you randomly. Imagine like 70 ants just, yeah! Imagine a super colony of enormous ants with thousands of ants. That's a wrap, son. And they're looking for meat. They're looking for that ass. The intelligence devourer or the intellect plunderer. Always a fan favorite with that intellect itself. Interesting monsters. You can also find those with illicit. I'm going to do my best. The Ixochitl. You guys can let me know how I did that. Ixochitl. I think that's right. That's something that's neat. We're going to revisit that in a minute. The Jackalweir, the Kinku. Bird people don't really do it for me too much, you know. You bird person. Kobolds. This is still where kobolds were a weird thing. Kobolds basically started off like a goblinoid. They were goblinoids. And then they slowly sort of changed. Like we can see some artwork at some point where they like have eggs. And goblins are mammals. Something that lays eggs isn't a mammal. It's not mammalian, so that's a bit weird, right? And here they're sort of dog-faced still with little horns. And they're slowly getting to these kind of mini, pathetic, draconic things. Which, you know, kobolds are always great. And I used some kobolds in Kindle the Red Dragon at one point. Just bringing some treasure to her. And I only let one of the players see it. Like, he just happened to, you know, say, well, you get this information. Actually, the character that Kindle likes the least. And it likes her the least, so it's a bit interesting. Kuatoa. One of the like the proto deep ones, you know, the degenerate creatures with that Innsmouth look. She gave me the Innsmouth look. From the darkest of the hillside thickets. Great H.P. Lovecraft. Great band. Like, I don't know, I guess they're like psycho rockabilly or something with Lovecraftian influences. The Lamia. A big ass leech. Laracuda. My man Kevin hit me up actually today. Maybe last night. I think today though. Hit me up about that Laracuda. I had them several games back. The players they get this like bounty on Laracuda in the area, and they get a bounty on Laracuda, which was like one of those trite kind of, you get a bounty on monsters. But I said, let me throw that in there to liven it up, because there was like some real hard death role plans, some really gritty, grimy stuff, some real hard moral decisions, like involving like how to deal with this ball spawn, and like she was evil, but she was an innocent young girl, and like what are they gonna do, and blah blah blah. And they had to like save her from the gallows, so they had to like turn against, like, you know, like I think followers of Lathander were trying to do it, or maybe Tyr, like a good god, right? So the player's like, nah, fuck on that, we're saving a girl. So I'm doing all this kind of stuff. So I said, you know, you want to change gears. Like if it's real dark, real serious, real gritty, you could go with a lighter thing. So they're fighting Laracuda in like a classic. You know, you go kill the man wants you to kill her or whatever. So they go and do it, and I played that like old fucking that song, and I have it right to the right second. Barracuda, and like when it goes, I go Laracuda, and they pop, dude. Everybody remember that joint for a very long time. In fact, I mean that was like maybe 10 years ago, and Kevin brought it up today. He was like, Laracuda! He just sent us one line. Well, as you're talking about, you know, Christmas, maybe it was yesterday, I don't know. But, you think this because I'm a lich, I'm not going to make out with you? Get over here. I'll stick in the piece. My friend, the late, great Muhammad Halim, I said to you. Yeah, I always get a smile. My one of my deceased old best friends, the fucking town lich. Yeah, I always think about. So liches, in my mind, are a little bit different. They're more these staggering drunks that are belligerent as fuck. But I love them. It makes me smile. Think of good times. So Lizard Man, my first ever RPG character was a Lizard Man. I didn't make it. I was in 5th grade, and this guy named me. He had come, and it's like the second time they played. I didn't know anything about role-playing. I've never even heard of him before. And he had made all these like pre-made characters for this really like kind of, he vaguely had some kind of idea about what D&D was. Like, I mean, barely. And he had just made some characters, and They rolled a couple of 6-siders and didn't really know what they were doing. And it was pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. And it started my love of Dungeons & Dragons. And Within the Ring of Fire, fucking Call of Cthulhu, Vampire the Masquerade, all these role-playing games that I've loved, for fucking 34 years since then. So big up to you, my man. But he had all these characters stacked up, and the Lizard Man was... Because I didn't play it till the second time. Because they let us play some stuff, and I was like the fucking backgammon champion of the world. I was. We were running it was like 32, I think it's a 32-person tournament. I won the whole thing. So, having won that tournament, I played a lot of backgammon. I was really good at backgammon. And I think I was playing backgammon then. And I just kind of seen what they were doing. And then Damien was kind of like, oh no, you should play. So I played. And a lot of other people had already gotten characters. And there was just a few of them left. And I was like, well, let me do this Lizard Man deal. Because that seemed kind of cool to me. So I played the Lizard Man. And, I guess I had a little bit of idea, a tiny bit, because I'd read a lot of Choose Your Own Adventure type books. And I'm trying to think of the Lone Wolf books, if I had that before or after that. I can't remember. But anyway, that's one of my to revisit list, playing a Lizard Man. And that experience definitely shaped the Sarouche, lizard folk of Within the Ring of Fire of quite a bit. And the Cannibal Sword, because it's kind of like what my character had in the game. And I sort of revisited that whole deal. There's a lot of aquatic things in here. Here's my son's favorite stuff. Although he may have gone to bed. I don't know. He might just be back in his room reading or something. The lycanthropes. The Weirbat, the artwork on that's really cool. The Weird Boar looks like he just finished a rough day at the office. He's like, oh, God damn it! I just finished a rough day at the office. Fuck, well, what's in the fridge? He just doesn't look that intimidating. The Weird Raven, that's a pretty cool looking piece of artwork too. I mean, they took some time with these lycanthrope pictures. Definitely didn't let the guy that did goblins in on these. My son loves the werewolves. There's lots of weird stuff in here too, like herd mammals. Like, who needs that action? A manticore. I haven't used a manticore in this game, but I've used them before. They are badass. The Medusa, which again should be termed Gorgon. There he is. Speaking of werewolves, and the gremlin appears. Yeah. I showed him a picture in here of you filthy gremlinoid. That's right. You should be embarrassed of yourself. Look at you. Look at you there. Look at that. Look at that. That was a baby picture of you right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Before your baby wings fell off.
Yeah, that did happen.
Of course it did.
True.
Yeah, so my son's name is the Bearded Tree Gremlin. He loves gremlin stuff. So, other than werewolves, gremlins, I guess, are your favorite besides werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to let him play a gremlin at some point, do something. I think it'd be awesome to play a wizard. This would be like the intro scene. I'd be like a wizard, and he would be playing my gremlin familiar, and he comes, what you see, when the players are introduced, you say this is this hut or house or shack or whatever, and you hear this lot of commotion. Things get smashed around, and this gremlin comes running out of the door, they have almost a circular motion, semicircular motion, crescent motion, whatever you want to call it. Out of there, and you hear, you get back here, you filthy thing, and I'll be running out as a wizard, trying to hit it with a broom, and he's running out after having just done some horrible tactics, and I'm trying to hit him with a broom. He's like, oh man, that's gonna get me, man. And then the other players are counting out I mean, you never see the introduction like that. I think that would be a money ass introduction.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
There's a Medusa, and the male Medusa, the Mater, which is they're on my bucket list. I really want to play one of these things. I think they would be super, super playable. I think it would be really interesting, that kind of quest. And they look like a half elf with tattoos or whatever, a human-esque kind of thing. So you can play them real easy. You could just walk right into town hey, what's good? I'm a Mater. And they'd be like, all right, what's up, Mater? And he'd be like, he just dap people up.
Wait, do they have those markings on the skin, or is that
They got the power to just fucking dap people up. What about that? Everyone's just yeah! They go through the whole town. Everyone needs it. They love it. They can't stand to not get mater dapped. Like, yes, the mater! I don't know. I've never seen these in 3.5. I don't know why wouldn't you include a mater? I will constantly. We've used a mater in the game down in that same kingdom I was talking about. They're gorgons down there. The male and the female gorgons. Ever they're terming them that way. Well, the word mater is fine, I guess. It's not Medusa, so that's something. What was your question, Grover?
Oh, just if they have those markings on their skin.
I think so. I don't think that it says here. I just read them. I read this thing before I got on here. Maybe I'll do a monster ecology mater video. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Here you go, the Illithid, which the initial artwork I think in the AD&D book initially really turned me off. It was like a slapsticky cartoon. I like something like this. Like mimic, to me, mimics are just stupider than hell. Like a mimic,
What is it?
mimic. It's like a treasure chest or something.
Oh yeah, I think I watched the Mr. Rex video on them.
I don't know. It's just butt. Like it's taking the game pieces. It's like a cloaker. It's taking pieces of the game and then changing them to be monstrous. It's not just what would be there. Why would a treasure chest be down in a dungeon? Who's it down there for? How many adventurers are coming by? Like this thing would starve to death long ago. Who's just picking a treasure? And how does the thing know to turn to a treasure chest?
They
I mean, come on, dude. That's just stupid. It's like the jester
actual,
level stupid.
Are they actual animals?
Who cares? I think they're supposed to be related to doppelgangers.
Oh, I would have thought they'd be more like a robot or something, like that.
Like a construct.
Yeah, or maybe a magical object.
I do think the Illithid are awesome. I mean, being a big fan of playing Get the Yankee, I definitely would not mind executing many of them. Here's the Minotaur. I think that's a very uninspired drawing. It looks like, I don't know if that's the same person that drew the elephant, but the elephant was very uninspired looking too.
Oh yeah.
The Crimson Death here was on the other page. It's kind of neat. I think I used one of those in my Ravenloft, or maybe it was Vampiric Mist. One of those I used in Ravenloft long ago. The Mongrel Folk, I used one of those in the current game we're doing. And there are more of them. The players just never met them. And we also use Vegapygmy down in the Underground Kingdom. There are Vegapygmy. I've always been a big fan of them since when I was in 7th grade. I played Curse of the Azure Balls for the Commodore 64 with Craig the Hack. Yeah, that game was so much fun. That really, really helped hook me in on D&D. That was the first real D&D experience I had. Before that, we were just playing completely generic stuff, and I had no idea what I was doing. I did in 7th grade get my first D&D book, which was Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition Monster Manual 2. I bought from my buddy Paul Rodriguez for $10. And I looked at it and had no fucking idea. I was like, what, how do I play with this book? Yeah, as you can imagine how confusing that is. They didn't even have, Taco and stuff like that for the monsters in there. Looking at some of this stuff, there's a mummy. I've used a mummy very, 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 very little ever. I know there's a Ravenloft module. It's like an Egyptian theme module. I ran that. That was the second Ravenloft. I guess the second module I ever ran. I think all the modules I've ever run have been Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition Ravenloft modules. I think those are the... Well, I ran one for... it's kind of a loose module. I ran one for Vampire. But that's it. No other D&D modules. Mycoids. Nag, I've always said the rope. So Neogi, there's another monster I use. These are one of my absolute favorite monsters to use. I love to play them. They're these hideous slaving monsters with Umber Hulks, but also cowardly. And she'd be like, "Oh, my friend, they start trying to make deals, cut deals with you. Oh, it was them. I am their slave. They have forced me. We are the same." And then, I had a great scene. It was actually with Kevin. Their characters got lost and got enslaved by Neogi, and they were enslaved. It wasn't one of these little quick. I had them a year, almost 2 years. They were slaves, and they were all mind controlled.
Did they have to play through that, or
Well, I just kind of did montages because they're drugged up on mushrooms and mind controlled as well, and they're eventually this the drow had attacked the Neogi and fought them off for a bunch of Neogi got killed. So it kind of shattered the characters. And, eventually, it's over a period of many hours, they start getting their sense back, and then they corner. So I want to give them some justice, right? So they corners Neogi, and Neogi's yeah, and it runs up the wall like a spider. He has like his little hand crossbow. Like that's gonna do shit against a group of player characters. But it was cool because it let a hand crossbow get into because the players don't have anything, so it lets the hand crossbow get into players' hands. And Neoji's up the wall. Like, yeah, no, my friend, no, we are the same. I am because Neoji have like a caste system. Like there's the top Neoji, and then everyone else is their slave, and the slaves own slaves, and it keeps going down. And it's a weird kind of lines. Like I was their slave too, and so Valorian is like starts like like oh Valorian's a big, powerful barbarian, like putting over like he believes it, so the thing like slowly comes down the wall. I just like trying to make peace with him. It's like yes, I can help you. We can get out of here. He's like yeah, and then he just beats the shit out of it. And then the party relished. I mean they stomped this thing. They stomped this Moriel wolf spider motherfucker into the ground, and it's like ah! And they just whooped that ass. They opened just a can up on that monkey ass. They beat the brakes off that sumbitch, and it was very entertaining to watch, because it let him get back over. Always gonna be an interesting thing. You don't want to do it in every game, but getting all the players enslaved, having everything taken away from them. I don't do none of that stuff, man. You get enslaved, your shit ain't just sitting there. They got enslaved for, I think, about 2 years, like I said.
Wow.
All their shit's gone. Everything they had is done. And they're like maybe 5th level when this happened. And so they had to work their way back up. And I did it in a way where, even though, players never like to lose their shit, they were still like, it was the whole thing was real cool. So, Nightmare. I let a PC get a Nightmare one time as a mount.
Were they bound it or I guess
yeah, he was a lawful evil. A nymph. I always really like the nymphs. I think they are, one of those really interesting classic creatures from Greek mythology. Circe is, of course, a nymph, and Circe's probably my favorite character from Greek mythology. The daughter of Helios. The ogres. Your main man loves ogres. Ogre Magi, we love them. I played Ogre Magi one time in a Jabroni's game. Normal ogres. We gotta love that. This one kind of looks a bit like Ed O'Neill, right? And Ed O'Neill played an ogre in some type of fantasy show, like a movie. I think it was like a mini series. It was kind of changing the dreaming-esque sort of. It came out after Married with Children when he was like sitcom actors kind of tend to go to a low spot, like a Ted Danson, right? Went to a low spot and then come back up with other stuff, like Curb Enthusiasm, things like that. The half ogre, I played half ogres before. That's documented. That's well documented. Slimes and jellies. I try to really underdo these type of monsters, but I think if done right, they can be scary. We all love the blob. I thought it was weird. Like they put orcs down. I think now in later editions, orcs are chaotic evil, but there's nothing to me lawful about orcs. Like they're
savages.
Yeah, they're just like wretchedly chaotic evil. Almost like to me what I would say the epitome of like, what type of monsters chaotic evil? Oh well, definitely goblins and orcs. Audiugs are another one of my favorite. They probably would hit my top 10 monsters. I don't like to play them as something to fight the players. I like it just to be a weird something they see, something experience, and the audio can like telepathically communicate with you. Here's Owl Bear. Often you may see Gary Gygax riding a D7 Owl Bears as a standard action. They were also a Chinosaur, so just this goofy little bag of toys that they happen to have down, I guess, used as miniatures. They went, fuck it, let's make them monsters. So it helped add another element, right? Because a lot of the stuff was Tolkien-esque, or it was Greek mythology, or various European mythologies that they put in there. And just adding these random weird things like owl bears and things like that, it gave a specifically unique D&D feel. Like
you also got like mind flayers and like other stuff that's more iconic. So I think that adds more recognition, almost. It helps distinguish and make it its own thing.
Yep.
Rather than something you could just put together yourself.
Yeah. You want to have sort of unique to you things like beholders. To me, there's a Brian Lumlin novel, The Burrower Beneath, I think is where what they say they think mind flayers were inspired by, but To me, they're very like Star Spawn, Cthulhu-esque, very alien, very savage, very angry. And they should come off as very non-human. And I think some of the later stuff that as they continue to build Mind Flayers up, I think some of the most genius stuff in Dungeons and Dragons is done with Mind Flayers. The only problem is they're so powerful that they're almost too powerful. It's like, come on, dude, how you going to beat him? You know what I'm saying? You got to have that man Godai come in. That man Godai, and they're like, oh no, and the Mind Flayers are smart. So, of course, they start to flee from Godai.
Yeah,
but Godai is too fast because he's a barbarian of unearthed arcana proportions. So he just catches him. And it's a Russian sickle. And it's got a brain. How's that Mind Flayer going to do nothing when this brain is all destroyed? It's like, that neck is probably broke too. So what's the fuck? How's he going to try to eat your brain? It's not eating nothing. It's eating the damn dirt and the stone with pain and blood so it can't get up. The easy way. You understand what I'm saying, Mr. Rosen?
Yeah.
Well, I think you do.
That's right.
You can't try to get at Godai. That man is undefeatable.
No, you can't.
Shambling mounds, I use them. I like to make them look like a man thing from Marvel Comics with that weird kind of trunk. I always thought he looked tight. So I like to make my shambling mounds like that. I use those in the Underwater Kingdom that players are far too scared to go to. Rakshasa. Rakshasa are from Hindu mythology. They're it's even weird to kind of say, like, Hinduism is, it's weird because it's not like Middle Eastern, I guess, not like the typical sort of Middle Eastern religions like a Zoroastrianism or Judeo-Christianity, something like that, Islam. It's sort of like a basket for a whole lot of religions, some not all that closely related to others. And Rakshasa are kind of like they're demons, so they're not, Rakshasa are not people, and they're like extraplanar creatures, basically. You know, they're like demons. Really, they're just the Hindu version of demons. Some of them look like cats, or a lot of them look like apes, really.
They have backwards hands or something.
I think some of them do. Use the Remoras. I use one of these in the games. This thing damn near killed the party. That's the thing. Remember when Scott's character got eaten by that monster?
Oh yeah.
That was a Remoras. It straight ate him. He had no sympathy for him. Yeah. And he ended up like getting all dissolved. Like he had like acid burns all over his body, and like one of his eyes got sizzled up, so he only has the one eye now for his enjoyment. But yeah, he was able to hack his way out, and you only get like 2 rounds or something before he just kills you, or at least maybe he only had 2 rounds because he was about to get jacked up. Like it does a lot of acid damage and like constricting damage, and he was already messed up. Like it had gotten to him, and the players were like, oh, and they're like trying to like get him out, and it was a pretty tense scene, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And afterwards, the players were like, oh, you're very scared of that monster. They weren't looking for those tactics, isn't that right?
Yeah.
He was
very scary.
Yeah. I get that from a lot of the players. Longevity was definitely like, oh my god, that monster was so scary. Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get Frank too because he
almost
in the mouth.
Yeah, it almost swallowed Frank's character, Issachar, as well. He almost got dealt with, but he was trying to what he could to save his man. And I don't know what this is. This is not The Rock. This is just some jabroni bird. I mean, The Rock would just have to just rock bottom this bird for his tactics of trying to steal his name. Revenants. I like Revenants a lot. I have used a Revenant in the game. Here's another Chinosaur, the Rust Monster. I think we might actually have the Rust Monster Chinosaur somewhere in the house. I know we did. It may have been given away. May have given it to one of the kids. I didn't know. I'm not sure if Ropers were a Chinosaur or not. They might have been. Sahagin, which I always look at. Some people try to say that these are sort of the deep ones, but I think it's really the Kuatoa that are the deep ones. To me, these look more D&D-ish, like I don't know. It looks less scary. It looks more D&D-ish, like cartoony versus like this horrible, degenerate thing. You know, whereas you'd have like certain people like Yanti or Kuato is like deep ones. I think you can do a lot with that. Like you can run a whole campaign on that. Satyr, which are one of the player types within our fire. I think they're definitely playable. On the video of my channel, the AD&D game we did with Swamper and Osceolet, Alex played a Satyr. Did a really good job with that.
That could be kind of interesting to play Satyr.
Alex loves Satyrs. The Siren, again, another one of the base species right out of Saga book for Within the Ring of Fire. We'll play a Siren. We'll get that voice going. You got snakes. That man, Jake the Snake Roberts. That man, Jake the Snake Roberts, has been in my game as well. Trust me. Huh?
Is that a dragon?
Who a dragon? This? This thing? It's a winged snake. I almost had you fight one of these things. They are in that area. Remember the Green Dragon that was done by Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
So, again, like I said, they always have like a polymorph form. So I had a Green Dragon as a druid. So, I think you have to learn your spells from someone. So the druid in the group, you know, that means I have to put in characters that can teach you spells as you get a higher level. You know, it might be on you to try to learn them, but they're there at certain points. And there's a Green Dragon is a druid. And I had him like as Tom Cruise, and he's like isolated out there kind of by himself, and he's fucking nuts. He is absolutely nuts. And when they killed the Remoras, like he liked that because he didn't like the Remoras. So he's like coming out and appearing. He calls himself the voice of the woods. So he's almost sort of like, imagine like full on like 5'2" Tom Cruise, out of his mind from like isolation and decades and lots of cocaine, who is happy with you, but also like has such an incredibly big ego, and it's just out of his mind. I'm getting up, I'm jumping around, and slowly they start to pick up that, oh god, this guy is something really horrifying, and he's like super like up in their face, like happy, but walking around like he's the biggest thing there is, like Tom Cruise would probably do. When he's like 5'2", and the parents like looking way down at him, he's like, ha ha! You know, and he's like congratulating them on defeating it, and talking about how he's been watching them the entire time they've been in here. He's like, I've been watching you since you were in the tower. You were in this old, like, abandoned tower that once belonged to a lich. That the lich had been defeated by the player characters over there near the Forest of the Worms in the Forgotten Realms setting. It's a really good setting. A lot you can do there. And they have green dragons in there. And if you want to use the voice of the woods, use Tom Cruise in there. Run with him, man. Make him a druid. Evil as hell, but at the same point, like, it's possible to get on his good side. And if you appeal to him correctly, you know, and he's a green dragon, right? So he's greedy and wants things, but he doesn't like. What's he have? He's out there in the damn woods, you know. So they were like, "Oh, but if you do this, we'll give you this." He's like, "Champion!" And they were like trying to make deals with him, which was the wrong way to approach him. Like he wasn't going to give them stuff that cost him anything. Like he wasn't going to give them a gold piece for something. Like he would take their thing if they gave it to him. And when they started trying to do that, what they started to see is, okay, you've offered it to him. So he's going to get it. Whether you survive or not, or get anything out of it, is immaterial. That thing is going to be his. So they started seeing it and like, oh, well, let's just give you this. And then they start making this relationship, and like he starts teaching her some spells, and like he gets them right through the forest like that, because I mean he knows the forest. He is like the druid of that forest. He's just a green dragon. Classing up dragons is a great way to do it. You know, one of the dragons in the game is a barbarian, which I had the other barbarian pick up on the fact that he's like, he can see the madness. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right. The macho blue dragon. Yes, it is. Uh-huh. Dig that. You know, for a while, like thinking, yeah, that maybe you need to calm down. Yeah. Yeah, big man. Uh-huh. I'm talking to you. Yeah. You. Uh-huh. So, some fun with that. Here's a psionic monkey, because that's what you need.
Well, it sounds stupider than hell.
It is stupider than hell. So there you can see a Sturge. Pretty good artwork there. The Baxi, which I guess are a big player character type now. The Tannery again, the same thing I said with the Batazoo. Like, look how goofy this is. It looks like an '80s action figure. It doesn't look like this powerful, horrible monster. Like it's just.
What is it? What is it?
It's a Tannery.
Oh yeah.
This is a Baylor, so it's, it's a type of demon. Well, look at it. It just looks like a jabroni. Like, look at him. He's got little pants on. He looks like a bad guy to He-Man. He's like, He-Man, I'm here to do the job to you. Oh, no. I'll have to beat the sense out of you. I know, He-Man. I just said I'll to do that job to you. Oh, I'm He-Man. God damn it, He-Man. Just whoop my ass real quick. I can't win. I never get to win. I'm the stupid-ass Tannery. I look dumb as hell. So, yeah. You got her and her. I think all these demons can be really, really, really cool, and like they got to be sinister and dark and just horrific. Like, she can't just look like a Yanti abomination, right? She can't, because then she's just a Yanti abomination from some other world, and who cares? But if you get her like just horrific, strange demons, particularly more than anything else. They should have a strangeness that defies physics in a way that is utterly creepy. They should leave the players horrified. And when you're doing something like that, you want to make sure you inject some dialogue in there so that they can see this utter wrongness. They're not dealing with, a thing that can get 6 arms or some stupid shit like that. They're dealing with something that is a blight on reality, something that sees them as a blight and sees creation as a horrendous mistake that must be undone immediately, and they're willing to do anything because they have no respect for creation. So a demon should be the worst thing there is. You should dig up the most horrendous things you can think of, and if you're not interested in doing that, you have no business in dealing with demons. It should leave the players or the characters, maybe the players too, but it should leave the characters scarred. Like it should damage their mind, having even seen them, have the wrongness, the changing in physics, the changing in what is right, what's wholesome, what is, because none of that applies to them. They're not interested in any of your laws, any of them, including the laws of reality. Such things are hideous to them, that they must be sequestered by such inferiority. Oh, it's the mock.
Oh yeah.
Thought eaters. I mean, here you go. If you thought anything was stupid, look, there you go. There you go, AJ Pickett. It's a damn echidna, isn't it? It's a fucking bone, a duck-billed platypus in bones that does. I mean, but you get smacked. You use that shit in my game. You try to, I'd get a game master one too, just for goodness sake. Look at that. Look at that. Who the hell's afraid of that thing?
I think he made a video on those.
Oh my god, did he?
I think so.
Oh, I had to joke on him. I guess he gets a pass being a New Zealander. Thrykrins, which are interesting. I don't like the fact that they've tried to like give the Thrykrin extra arms. I think it should just be the front arms. I would make Thrykrins very Centaur-esque in my game, as opposed to having like being more bipedal. I don't like that at all. I like them to just have. There's no need for them to have like a billion weapons. It makes things way too like unplayable. And they're in Dark Sun, so that's kind of the way I would run them. Titans, which I've always found Titans strange because you're meant to just basically use them. In fact, I think in some editions they even actually have names of Titans. Let me see. Yeah, it says Olympians in here. So, yeah, I don't know. And like the power level, I'm sure whatever it is, I'm sure I think it's way too weak. Like it has 20 hit dice. That doesn't seem. I mean, like that doesn't seem like a god should have 20 hit dice like that. You just don't beat them really unless there's like a real reason that real reason that you want to have that happen in the game. Trolls. God. Now this one is probably my favorite piece of artwork in the game. I think that is so evocative. Anyone that knows me knows Within the Ring of Fire, knows my creative mind, and knows I love trolls. I love the Umber Hulk. That's great artwork too. Here we go. It's you can see the picture of the Dracula in here. I think Will o' Wisp are kind of neat. I usually just like use them like just as like scenery, just like as background scenery. I was never really interested in actually using them to be fought or dealt with. Just like something you see out there, like just add some spooky ambiance. Whites. They were in Ravenloft, dude, and no one liked to play a cleric back in the day when I was in high school. Nobody, except for me, and I was running the game. So you didn't have the cleric. I played the cleric, but not those guys. So level draining was horrific. Oh, you get level drained. Oh, you never get that level back because none of y'all's the clerics? Well, oh well. So they were terrified when they'd fight whites. And unfortunately, I like to use whites. Whites is something I like. They've dumbed them down. I mean, AD&D was just so brutal. I've solved enough for them. So whites, ghouls, ghasts, wraiths are another one. Those are kind of my core undead, those guys. Overall, there's a bit too much. Wyverns. I used wyverns in the current game. If I one of the players, I made them cool. I made them azure colored. So one of the characters has wyvern armor. Now, Zorn have been around forever. I don't know. They're just stupid to me. I've never used one. It's the original pumpkin-eating freak, the Yeti, the Bigfoot, the Scoutfoot, if you will. There's a Yuan-Ti, again, one of my favorites. I played a Yuan-Ti in a game before. There are a type of serpent people in Within the Ring of Fire as well, called the Typhon. Here's a Zartan. He is like a master of disguise, as you can see. He is a G.I. Joe figure, but he can actually turn into a giant fucking turtle. The size of this is very strange to me. Like, it seems like it's way too small. I'd have to look at it now, but to me, like, this should be like the size of like a good size island, because it talks about like, oh, they have civilizations on them, and you're like, okay, this doesn't seem anywhere near big enough.
How big is it?
It says that there's like a 350-foot diameter, which is
that's not big enough.
yeah, it's not big enough. And the problem is, like, if you're in even remotely clear water and or anyone in your civilization swims, you're going to immediately figure out you're on the back of a turtle. Because, I mean, the head isn't... How far down could that head be, you know? Yeah. Or you're not ever going to see it.
Unless it was, like, buried under the ground, maybe?
No, it's not buried. It's out in the water.
Oh.
Yeah, these are like floating islands. That's their gimmick. They're like, an Arabian monster. Of course, there's zombies. And then, so we come to the back, and we see more of these. Again, I had the original version of this book, which didn't, these were just white pages. So I don't know, this kind of transfixes me. I think it's really awesome to look back at all this stuff. Remember these, the green books. All in all, I think those kind of age sort of poorly. They are kind of expensive online. The only one I ever had was the Vikings book. There's another one here. All they want here are Vikings, Charlemagne's Paladins, Celts, Mighty Fortress, and the Glory of Rome. There's also an Age of Heroes, which is like the Greek book. And so there was at least one more of these. And it just brings like a lot of great memories looking at this stuff. I actually bought some of these the one-on-one modules. I bought 2 of those for him. Get to run them yet. Dragon Mountain. Frank ran this way back in the day. We only played a little bit of it. He made one of the critical mistakes of Frank he's way too easy going. Like, he's like, okay, we'll just do what you want. So people pull shenanigans, and this man Steve Jeffries pulling up my shenanigans. But Frank liked to kill his characters, right? But My character slid right in the back door, and my character was very reasonable. He was like something. I think it was a 10th or 11th level, the 16th level or 15th level. Something, I think 16th level. And I had a real character I had as Craig the Hack, and my character basically was a retired adventurer. We had the whole deal. He had all the ranger followers and all that stuff, like from the game he'd actually played in. This guy Damon was running. And not Damien, the first guy I played with. Damon. They're two different guys. Damien Mohican, Damon Baker. So played. Damon Baker looked kind of like the president of the Nasty Boys fan club. Do you have an idea? So the character's retired, but he's got, and she's tough. He had a Vorpal sword, or no, he didn't. He had a sword of sharpness, right? Or maybe it was a Vorpal sword. I think it was a sword of sharpness, though. And yeah, it was sword of sharpness. That's what I had. That was like his big weapon, his big thing. And I systematically got the entire loot of 3 of Steve Jeffries' characters, and he had absurd amounts of stuff. And his characters kept dying because Frank loved to kill him. So Frank was like, yeah, whatever you want. Because Frank planned to kill him. The problem is, he just interjected this, like, 15% of the absolute best stuff out of the Dungeon Master's Guide on his character. 15%. Multiply that by 3. Add a sort of sharpness. My character was just unbeatable. I'll use this. Okay, well, I'm immune to fire. How? Well, I have this ring of fire immunity that I took off Steve Jeffries. Oh, this happens. Well, I'm immune to that, or, yeah. Well, psychic, my character can't be hit by psychic abilities because I have this headband of Steve Jeffries. It just ridiculous stuff that he let in the game, and Frank TPK'd the party with his Death Knight to use this like super powerful fireball deal. Did nothing to me. I walked through it, kept blasting it with attacks, and just wrecked his world like in one round. It had TPK'd the rest of the party. Did nothing to me. I just wiped the floor with it like it was a COBOL, and I was 30th level. Like, it took an ass whooping that bad, that fast. That was pretty much in the game because he'd killed all the other characters, and I was just completely. I had a real powerful ring regeneration too, so I was just unbeatable. And by the fact that he let all the Steve Jeffrey stuff in, you're playing a character, he's gonna. Oh, all the best items are sitting on the ground. I'm not sure why I'm going adventuring, but I'm definitely going to pick these up. Yeah. And he was like, well, the Death Knight might come back. I'm like, no, he won't. Not that ass whooping. Ain't nobody that's stupid. Nobody wants that atrocity to occur to them. I mean, he should maybe bring me something like beg me for his own humility. And they had these blue books. Armors and Equipment, I love that. I thought the book was fantastic because you could show it to players, kind of give them an idea of weapons, get them to do stuff other than I took a longsword, because a longsword don't get over in my game. I never use anything more than a +1 longsword in a game I run. You're not going to get it. I don't like longswords. They're just done to death. They're not as poisonously done to death to me now, but in AD&D, those longswords were dying to me, man. Like, every fucking character, God help you for an elf. A longsword. Of course you do. Oh, is that a longbow there too? Yeah, that's kind of positive. Of course it is. Of course. Oh, you too. All 8 of you are the same character. That's horrible. Yeah. So, but here we got Monster Mythology. I actually have a copy of this. My man Samwise 7. Big shout out to Tim. He actually sent me this. Years ago now, Monster Mythology. I really like that book. I have definitely used many things from that. And here we are. These complete books. We've reassembled that between my son and myself. We have most of them now. I think we still need a few. A few of them probably won't buy. The Barbarians book I have no interest in because I got Unearthed Arcana Barbarians. I got the Unearthed Arcana book right here beside me. It's got a stack of other books. There's books everywhere. Because I got my son's Christmas books over here, and then I got my stuff for running the game, and I got stuff from we played Frank's game last night. So stuff is everywhere. Some of these will be reshelved after we're done here. But yeah, so that's been the Monstrous Manual AD&D 2nd edition. You can see the back cover art. I love this book. It's one of if I had to pick like 10, if I had to pare my Dungeons and Dragons books down to 10, just 10 books, this would definitely be on the list. It would definitely make that top 10. I'll probably take this book, that'd be an interesting video. Maybe we'll do that. Anyway, Barbarian Horde, love you guys. Have a great night.